Hi, I'm Debra Scarpa, and this is Home Designer Marketing. This webinar is how to differentiate and communicate your offering. I'm obviously super passionate about it, as I've already been doing a deep dive. Okay, let's do a little housekeeping. If you have any questions during the presentation, type them into the chat box and we will answer them at the end of the presentation during the Q&A. Are you struggling to communicate everything your company offers? So think about that. Are you struggling to communicate everything your company offers? I find that this is a huge problem. It's really hard to do that deep dive, especially to yourself. It is very hard. Maybe you think you are losing work to your competition. Are you? Are you losing work to your competition? Or maybe you don't know what makes your company unique. Absolutely. It's difficult. When you're in the space to really, step away and kind of look back at yourself and see what is unique about you. I'm just visualize trying to figure out what you look like and what you're wearing when you don't have a mirror, right? It's really difficult. So if you're not communicating the unique value of your service in your marketing, how do you expect your prospects to understand it? Right? So think about it. When you're working on projects, you're delivering all this amazing value and results and everything. If you're struggling to communicate that, and sometimes it's just you're offering so much, it's so hard to communicate it because, maybe out 5-10 minutes, right? It's hard to organize it and put it into simple terms so you can communicate it easily. So it's easy for somebody to understand. It's easy for somebody to buy from you. There's actually one of my favorite books is, it talks about, it's a sales book. It actually talks about people having a crocodile brain. Sounds kind of funny. Crocodile brain when they're purchasing from you, which means that people will only buy when things are simple. If things are so complex, what happens is people's brains, get overloaded and they shut down and they don't move forward purchasing. So it's super important that you're communicating it in a way that's easy to digest on your marketing material, when you're meeting somebody in person, your sales calls, all of it. Each one of you has your own unique story, process, and solution. Right? I always like to think about it as your superpowers. You all have your own superpowers. We here really focus on people working within your superpower. Yes, Ashley said, especially in a way that the consumer understands. Absolutely. This is the key to making your marketing work. Obviously, there's a lot of pieces, but if you don't have this piece, you're going to look like everybody else. So I'm Debra Scarpa. I'm on the right. Ashley Blazing here. She is our operations manager. We also have Taylor on board. Taylor's amazing, digital marketer, does a ton of stuff for us. She's amazing. We're from Home Designer Marketing. We help interior designers transform their brands to getting online, winning their dream clients, and working smarter by streamlining their processes. Absolutely, like strategy is the secret sauce. We would not be here like successfully doing what we're doing if we didn't have our strategy process. That's how important it is. Our team guides your business to success with custom branding, logos, websites, local SEO, social media, email marketing, improving your processes. So we totally transform your business online, but the key is this strategy piece, which is what we're going to be talking about. This course is approved by NKBA, so it is approved. Taylor's going to put in chat the information here on the slide. We're also going to send that out with a certificate with the email, the follow-up email that's going to have a recording. Okay, today's agenda, your unique offer. We're going to talk about what makes your company unique, what's unique about your services, your products, you know, your design style. Like, are you an expert at certain types of projects, your processes, your team? We're going to go through all of those different things, and you'll see a lot, like everything that's on that list. When somebody goes through strategy with us, those are the questions that we're asking. Though that is the deep dive. The answers to those questions and what we uncover in that strategy meeting is sent to our copywriting team, and our copywriting team then writes copy based on those answers that, you know, the outline that we get from the strategy. So, and then with the strategy, like the copywriting written up, then we design your website to tell the story based on like your copy. How do we need to tell that story visually? Okay. So if you don't have the strategy correct, you're not going to be able to write the copy correct. You're not going to be able to lay out the website correctly, and you're not going to understand like what the look and feel should be too for that design, right? So it's all connected. That's what I want you to understand. What is your story and how are you communicating it? And it is super important too, because I find when I do audits, a lot of you have gone through my audit process. If you haven't, definitely sign up. I know Taylor put that in chat. I offer you a lot of value. There are a lot of websites that I look at that start out, think about your website as a communication tool, a conversation you're having with somebody online. So many of them, you get to them and it's like, welcome to my business, right? So think about your website content as you're having a conversation with somebody. If I started out a conversation and I was like, hi, I'm Debra, I've had my business for this long, I've won tons of awards, blah, blah, blah about me, you'd be like, oh my gosh, she's so self-centered. I don't want to talk to her. I'm going to politely just go talk to somebody else, right? So that's how your website is communicating and having a conversation with somebody. If you're not like telling your story, you're just talking about yourself. You're not including your ideal client in that conversation. So I hope that makes sense. How is your company being perceived online? This is super important. Is it being perceived, you know, like here's a website before and here's a website after, right? I want to focus on like, how is your website being perceived online? Because if you come to this website right? It's the same work as this one. She just changed her name, right? If I look at this one, this company is being perceived as maybe she's doing this as a hobby. She's not a real professional. She doesn't take on bigger jobs. I can't trust her as much. I shouldn't pay her as much, right? That's how this one is being perceived. This one is going to be perceived, same company, same work. This is how she's communicating her value with the copy, the look and feel, right? The headlines. There's going to be some people that read through all the copy. They're very detailed. There's going to be other people that are skimming through the headlines. There's going to be other people that are just looking at the look and feel, right? Everybody is different. Google is definitely going to be going through reading all the content, the headlines, everything. If they're reading the back end code, they can't see the pictures. So if you have no copy, or if you just have copy about yourself, Google is not going to rank your site well for SEO. Definitely. Like, you have to have good copy on your site for Google to, and it has to be optimized with keywords in order for Google to understand it and know that it is of value and what the page is about. And so it's going to help rank that site. But I just want you to see like how people are perceiving you. And it's super important because there's a lot of times when I'm meeting somebody for an audit and I think, oh, they just started up, they don't really look professional, and then I get in a meeting with them and I'm like, oh my gosh, they've been running all these huge projects and stuff. Their online marketing does not line up at all with what they are delivering. Okay, I want your online marketing should line up with where you're at or even where you want to be. It's kind of like, I'm sure that you've heard, like if you want a professional job, like dress for the part. It's the same thing with your online marketing. If you look like you're doing it as a hobby, you're probably going to get clients that think that you're doing it as a hobby, right? If you look more professional online and in person, then people are going to assume that you're more professional. How is your brand positioned? So is it, that you do like offer affordable services, smaller projects that are smaller investment, or, do they trust you more? Like luxury services, larger projects, large investments. You could see by the websites I showed you, definitely somebody's perception of you is going to make a big difference. So strategically position your brand, which means like it's the number one thing that you need to think about. How are you positioning it? Here's another one before, and here is her after, right? You would perceive this company so much different than this one. You would trust this one more. You would pay this one more. You would, you would see this person more as an authority than you would this one. Again, exact same work. She's delivering the same stuff. So it's how your business is being perceived. Position your brand to attract your ideal client. Yep. So just really thinking about that. Now we're going to go through like questions that you need to be asking yourself. Strategically position your brand. Make what you offer and how you deliver it unique, and communicate that. So steps to positioning your brand. 1, strategy, which I'm going to walk you through. 2, building the brand. So step 1 is what we're going to focus on today, right? Then 2 is building that brand. 3 is consistently driving traffic. You need to be doing something consistently to drive traffic to the website, right? So it's building this, creating the strategy. Who am I targeting? What's unique about me? All the stuff we're going to go through. Then building everything from like your logo, website, writing the copy, building that all out, and then driving traffic to it. And I really want to emphasize that because I do get people who come to me, they want to drive traffic, but they haven't positioned their website correctly. And maybe it looks like they're doing it as a hobby. Like you're wasting your effort, you're wasting your investment by driving traffic to a website that's not going to convert your ideal client. That needs to be the number one thing that you look at before you're driving the traffic. What makes your company unique? You specialize, and these are questions that I do a deep dive when I'm doing strategy with somebody. So, what makes your company unique? Do you specialize in a specific style? Are you really good at color, window coverings? Like sometimes I talk to designers and they have like a specific way that they like draw, maybe it's their process or, that they figure out like how to make that space look amazing. Do you specialize in one area of the home or a specific niche? What type of projects are you really good at delivering? Do you offer full service, virtual, decorating? I'm sure you're thinking like, oh, there's so many other designers in my area and it's so competitive. They might not be doing the exact same thing that you're doing. I know there's a lot of other like marketing agencies out there. Like, are they competition or are they not competition? Are they really delivering the same thing? Are they really niching down in the same area? Right? The same is for you as interior designers. Like maybe you're super good at kitchens. Maybe somebody else hates doing kitchens and they're great at something else. So like really it's unique to you and your story. So what's unique about your services? So what services do you offer and why are they better? So, one-off, like, do you do like consulting, design, full service, color consult? Like really doing a deep dive is figuring out what you deliver and why do you love it? Why are you so good at delivering it? What processes do you go through to, that give you amazing results? That is what doing a deep dive is about. What's unique about your products? What's better about your products? Is it the quality? Are they custom? Do you have a team? Is it like upholstery, the furniture you have access to, cabinetry, lighting? You're really good at moving walls, art, there's so many different, there's so many different levels that you could take everything to. But why are you different? Why are your products different than somebody else's? Are you exceptional at a specific design style? So I know, when I talk to designers, a lot of people think, that maybe like their design style is the best style, maybe, or maybe somebody else is just different, right? But definitely leaning into what you are really, really good at is where you're going to see the best results. So like I put multiple styles because we talked to some designers that like the space is really unique for every client they work with. They have a way of making that really, really unique. We have other designers that focus on maybe a specific style. Maybe they live next to the coast and they do coastal. There's no right and wrong. It's just, what are you really good at? And how are we going to communicate that? And how are we going to, communicating that could be in the words, in the text. It could be, visual. It could be the picture selections that we use. It could be the fonts that we use. It could be the way we lay out the page in order to tell that story. There's so many different elements that help us tell that story, especially when it's like design style, right? The style of the design of your website needs to match the style of your work. I always think about your website as a frame, putting a frame on a piece of art. You don't want the frame to overpower the art. You want it to show off the art, right? So when you're thinking about any of your marketing, your logo, your website, anything, even an ad, it needs to have that same look and feel, the colors, the fonts, the layout, all of it that match your design style. So they look like they go together. Like if you're a really modern designer and you're using a really like scripty text, right? They're not lining up. They're not matching. That's like the wrong fit for that client. Are you an expert on specific types of projects? Like what type of projects have you been doing for years? Where do you love? And when we get people in strategy too, sometimes they're sometimes they're like offering something but they really don't like it. Well, maybe you shouldn't be offering it, right? Focus in on what you're doing, what you love to do. That's where you're gonna really get strong. And just as growing a business in general, like if you are offering a lot of different services and you're spreading yourself so thin, you don't have the time to really pick up momentum and get super good at one thing. Because what you need to do to get really, really good at one thing is do it over and over. So you can, every time you do it, improve your processes. If you're doing, like as a marketing agency, we used to offer like a lot of different types of services. And, if you're creating a new process, every time you offer a new service, it's not going to be, the results aren't going to be as good. And you're going to be exhausted because you're creating a brand new process every time. You can still like offer like fully custom results, like we do custom websites, or somebody could do custom kitchens, or custom renovations, right? But the process is the same. So if I'm really good at kitchens, maybe all my kitchens look different, but my process is the same. You need to do enough of the same type of projects, the same type of services in order to get those processes really streamlined. Getting them streamlined is going to help you like save time. It's going to help the quality control. It's going to help you become more profitable. It's like super important. So like, what are you really good at? And really dive into that, niche down into that. Strategically position your brand. So what is unique about your process? So for each one of those that I went over, like, what is unique about your process? So like how you do a consultation. How do you learn about their project goals, style, needs, view the space, discuss their project? Like everybody does it a little bit different. You might have a specific process for that. Contract. How do you estimate, create proposals? You know, how do you collect payments? You know, how do you start that project? Again, everybody is different. What steps are included in your design process? How many options do you provide? What is delivered? You know, like if you're doing like, you know, if you're really good at rendering and you're providing really, you know, high quality renderings, that is definitely huge value because somebody's going to get to see that room before it's done, right? So communicating that you're offering that as part of your process can help build trust and get you the job or get you a lead, right? So it also shows that, you know, you're a real business and they can really trust you. And think about this too, that if you're not communicating your process and people are just looking at a photo, they have no idea how much work is really going into delivering what you're doing. So, you know, if you're not communicating everything that you deliver, of course, people are going to think that they're going to pay you less. Because why should they pay you when they don't think that you're doing that much work for them, right? So communicating everything that you're offering and doing for them, it's going to help you build that trust to get paid more and to have more of the authority too, because people are going to see, wow, she's going to do all this stuff for me. I didn't realize that there was so much to do for a project like this. I'm so glad I have her on my team or him or whoever on my team. I'm sure glad I have that designer on my team because I don't have the time for this or the expertise. That's how you want them to like feel about it. Project management. How do you manage the project? Do you manage like vendors, contractors, you know, installers, and then the installation? Like, what's your role? Are you involved? Are you not involved? Everybody is different. And it's super important. Like if you're doing project management, you're helping with the installation, like you're helping manage that and other people aren't, right? That shows like how much more value you're offering your ideal client than the other person. So if they're just on your website looking at a photo, they're not going to understand the differences. They're going to think that they're comparing apples to apples. They're not understanding why they should buy from you, why they should book an appointment with you versus somebody else. Your unique customer service processes. So what processes do you have in place to offer like consistent services? And I know I read a ton of books. One of them I remember is, I just love this. Like, you're not building a business, you're building process. Like building a business is about building processes. So Like, you can never get ahead if you're just in the work delivering all the time. The way that you get ahead as a business is you build those internal like processes. So, and communicating, like I said, in your marketing, how much like, all the value that you're offering them, how you communicate, you know, uh, how you're like setting expectations or pays attention to the details, or, that you're easy and professional to work with, or your offer is easy to understand. That you have like a process for taking in their information or onboarding, like really communicating all the value and how that, how you're working with them, how much you're managing it, and how much they can trust you. This is super important because I know personally, like, I was my husband and I were looking for somebody to help us with a project. We were totally in love with this one company's like design services, and we reached out to them multiple times. They weren't getting back to us. Like, I was actually trying to give them a deposit, and like it was so complicated and I couldn't give them a deposit. And, we loved their work, but the whole process of how they were communicating and like the fact that they were so unorganized, I told my husband, hey, we can't work with them if they can't like even take our money, and like, they're not going to be able to run. I lost trust that they were going to be able to do our project, that they were going to be communicating well and be able to do our project. So, communicate how you're communicating, and offering customer service. It needs to be communicated in your marketing. It needs to be delivered in your sales process, and it needs to be, delivered when you're working with them on a project, so you have happy customers, so that you get good Google reviews. It's so important. Your unique contract and billing process. How do you charge, bill, accept payments? How is a contract signed? Like, is all of this professional? Are you communicating this? I mean, sometimes you're not communicating all of this, obviously, on your website, but, sometimes there's part of the process that is on your website. Like, can they schedule an appointment? Can they make a payment for some kind of, like their first appointment with you? Or obviously, I think that you should have a phone call with them first to make sure they're not crazy before you show up at their house, right? But, part of this whole process should be included in, if they're on your website, how do they take that next step to having a conversation with you? What is the process that they're going to have to go through in order to like work with you? That's important to communicate. Your unique design process. So, what is the process that you bring them through? And again, think about all the details that throughout the whole project that you're delivering. Not communicating those details is gonna, again, make it look like you're not delivering very much. So you really need to, it's either, you really need to work on developing strategically, like really doing a deep dive. Whether you're doing it yourself or doing it with somebody like us, but doing a deep dive into really understanding what is unique about you And so you can communicate that so they understand like that you're delivering a massive amount of value, right? So maybe you do 3D drawings, or maybe you're really great at space planning or lighting, or what is your kind of like process for design changes. Or like, for example, when we're working on custom logos, I definitely like, I don't limit how many design changes. We have an online meeting for 2 hours and we make any changes together, right? And I get those logos approved almost 100% in that first meeting. And people are typically like in love with the result because they've been included, because I have a really unique process that I've never heard of another designer actually making changes on a logo in a meeting together, right? So do you have like a really unique process that makes it so you can really deliver exceptional services? That story needs to be told and communicated so they understand, like it builds trust. Communicating your process helps build trust. Your unique, like, consultation process. So do you offer like a free consultation, paid on-site visits, like a survey, how do you collect project information? I'm always working on this stuff. How can we, for our business, like streamline things? How can we set up better processes? How can we like make it a better user experience? How can we get better results? Working on these processes is the answer, and communicating them is going to build you as an authority, is going to attract more of your ideal clients because they'll understand like, what you're delivering, what you're not delivering, help you get paid more, build trust. It's just, I can't emphasize how important it is. Like discussing project timelines, all of that is super important. Your project management and installation like process. Yeah, because I know personally, just talking to a lot of designers, there's so many different options. Are you really hands-on and you're over there all the time? Are you not there at all? Are you like managing contractors, kind of the middle person between the contractor and the client? Are you checking to make sure that everything is done correctly and handling any kind of issues? Coordinating schedules, ordering, helping out with like furniture delivery, inspecting things, like what are you doing? What are you not doing? And what is unique about your team? Who is on your team? What type of contractors? And your team these days can be, team, the definition of team has definitely changed over the years, right? So team can be, an employee. It could be, somebody that just comes in for an assistant, a few hours a week. It can be a subcontractor. It could be, contractors. It could be tile installers. There's like so many different types of people. If you have relationships with people and you're bringing in people, installers, vendors, even if they're not like on your payroll, they're part of your team. So really think about and this is really good to think about too when you're thinking about sales or your marketing, like on your website. Think about communicating not just the value that you are offering yourself, but the value your whole team is offering, right? That you have contractors or maybe you have contractors and subcontractors you've been working for years. That is huge value that you need to communicate. You have relationships with them, you work well, it helps out with quality control, scheduling, like you have all the kinks worked out. So that needs to be communicated. How experienced is your team? What are your team members' like responsibilities? Does your team have a unique way of communicating? Yeah, how long have you worked with them? Strategy is key to positioning your business to attract your ideal client. It's absolutely like the key. I always tell people it's our secret sauce. Like our strategy process is our secret sauce. It's absolutely, otherwise, like I said, people are going to your website and, and it's just like about me, or, it's like, it's so important to setting you apart and telling your story, whether it's in the copywriting, visually, headlines, all of it. It's like the number one thing. It is so important. You can't write good copy without strategy. It's just the same. Think about, like, if you are going to design a room and you never talk to the client about, about like what their dreams are, or, how they want to use the room, all of that, right? And you just had to design the room with no input, the room is not going to work. It's not going to be unique to them. It's going to be generic. It's not going to, be right. Strategy is the same thing for your website. Without the strategy, you're not going to have the good content that's going to attract to Google. You're not going to have good content that is building trust with your customer and communicating all that value. It's not going to have, and it's not going to be laid out correctly to tell that story visually, because, it's like starting out with, it's just generic. It's not specific to you and what's unique about you. So strategy is key to telling your unique story and communicating your value. If you're not communicating the unique value of your services in your marketing, how do you expect your prospects to understand it? Right? So if you're not communicating the value, don't expect your prospects to really understand the value you're offering either. That makes sense? Like, if I don't tell you that I want a salad for lunch, how can I expect you to know that I want a salad for lunch, right? Like that, just like you have to communicate it. Nobody is mind readers, right? So it's the same thing. So you have to communicate like your value in your services and in your marketing, in order for somebody who's looking at your marketing online to understand it. And there is a skill in taking everything that you do that's really complex and simplifying it so it's easy to understand. It's just kind of the same way where if you're designing a room, And there's like all these different inputs, right? There's like colors, fabrics, there's like furniture, there's space planning, there's like all these different things. And you have to like kind of narrow it down to all come together. It's the same. All right, I know I did a massive amount of information. Hopefully, you understand the value of strategy and give you a little bit of an insight into what strategy is. How do I make myself unique? Like, what is that? How, give you some actual action points that can be like, oh, telling that story could help tell, everybody how unique I am and communicate my value better. So again, I'm Debra Scarpa, home designer marketing, and then Taylor is going to put in chat again the link to the free brand website and SEO audit. I know some of you have already gone through that. If you haven't signed up for that, definitely sign up. I do really, it's my passion to help you guys and help you, obviously you can tell from this webinar, like help you understand how you can take your business to that next step. It definitely I'm always like sad when I see somebody totally struggling and they're not set up properly. It is my passion personally to help you guys. So I have a moment that we'll go through and I'll see if there's any questions. Happy to answer them. Feel free to put any questions you might have in chat. And thank you everybody so much for showing up for the webinars. It's really nice to have you. I'm just going to look for a moment at chat. Ashley, you said you're struggling with this topic. I hope that this has given you, some insight into like how to develop like a strategic plan, right? What needs to be included? And it can be overwhelming to do it yourself if you're struggling with that. I only say that because most of our designers are talkers and they're not writers. Then definitely like work with somebody, with your strategy. Yeah, thanks, Darcy. Yep, we do a deep dive. Yep, we definitely do. It comes from Darcy went through our strategy process. It comes from, doing years of strategy to know what questions to specifically ask in order to do that deep dive, right? So you really, you have to be asking the right questions. And let me see if there's other. Yeah, I know, Gail, how can I have that all on my website, but still keep it simple? Yep. That's where like strategy and a good copywriter come into play. It's like, how do we tell that story? Definitely. Oh, yep. Thank you, Robin. Organized and informative as usual. Yep. Just try to, I definitely feel like if you don't understand like what needs to be done, I'm definitely a why person. I have to be convinced that this is like what needs to be done in order for me to like make a change. Like I know that about myself. So I kind of assume other people are like that. Yeah, I'm glad this was helpful, Ashley. If you're new and don't have many projects under your belt, how do you recommend positioning yourself? Yeah, I would definitely work on, getting professional images when you have a project that's worthwhile. So investing in professional photography, because if you don't have the photos, I know it's kind of a hard thing when you're like struggling to get work. We personally, when we started out working with interior designers, we actually, with our first clients, gave them like a discount in order to get some new clients under our belt, to get some projects. So we would have something to show off, right? So, you know, not everybody's in the position to do that, but you know, if you can, it's more important at the beginning to get the experience and get some beautiful photos. That's and work on your processes, because you're not going to be able to get a big luxury project if you don't have those processes in place, because they're taking a risk of things falling apart. Yeah. So if you're more established, then, you know, I have more of those processes in place, people are going to trust you with more luxury projects. So, you know, you might have to, you know, come down on your pricing a little bit in order to get, you know, only do that if you think it's a project worthwhile that you can like shoot. You don't need a lot of projects in order for us to help you with your marketing. But like if you don't have some good photos, like, you know, it's going to be very difficult to position your online brand to like go after luxury clients. We need at least like one or two. Some people have even like, you know, obviously most designers have beautiful homes. So a lot of people have, you know, fixed up their homes and brought in a professional photographer to take pictures of their home. Absolutely. Like that has worked out really, really well. And we've been able to make their website look gorgeous. And then they're positioned to get those bigger projects. So that's a really, that's worked out really well. Yeah. Yep. I'm sure your home is beautiful. Clean it up, hire a professional photographer, get some great photos, and then get somebody to help you with the strategy, the copyright. Even if you have, when you're starting out, you don't need a lot of pages. Like every page needs to have a lot of value. You don't want to have like a page with just a few sentences of text and like one picture. Google is not going to rank it well. Your customers are not going to see you as like, as large, you know, as experienced of a company. So every page you want to have value. So even if like we've done some really small websites, you know, 3-page websites, it just needs to have that right look and feel and have valuable content. So, and you can always add pages on later, but, you know, just taking that first step of like looking professional online should be your goal. To look that, have that look and feel, so it doesn't look like you're doing it as a hobby. Write it into your contract if you definitely like, if you do take a job, you know, at a lower rate, you can negotiate like to be introduced to 3 of their friends, to, you know, get a Google review if they're happy, to photograph the, you know, project, you know, are they going to really let you have more freedom in the design, or are they going to be more controlling? Like you want it to be a really great end product that you can really promote and use for your marketing. You don't need to take pictures of every single project that you do, just the best ones. People are going to judge you on your worst project photos. So when I remember somebody, you know, I was trained as a graphic designer, and an illustrator, and I would show my portfolio. And I remember people telling me years ago, like, people will judge you on your worst pieces in your portfolio. The same is for you. Like, you want them to have like, wow, I'm in love with this person. I don't care how much it costs. I want to work with them. I love them. And we know that we've all been shopping where we're like, I love that dress. I love that car, whatever. I don't care that it's over my budget. I want to buy it, right? So you want them to have that same feeling about your work, that they're so in love with it. All right. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining us today. You know, I love having you in the webinar. So thank you for joining us, and I'll see you next time. All right. Have a great rest of your day.